Okay, cool. So basically we ran through that kind of functional movement screen initially to kind of find out just intake, general, right in the door. Do you guys have some movement issues? You guys were horrible examples because you guys move really well. So you guys are actually really good candidates for this athlete assessment because globally you guys move really well. So in a perfect world, you would enter into our strength training kind of program with very minimal, if any, limitations. So that's the goal of the FMS initially, to set you up for success on the training floor. This next test is called the athlete assessment. It's something that my colleagues here kind of put together, and we've kind of developed a way to, again, a more detailed way to connect the bridge of what are your movement issues, and then what does that mean from a performance standpoint. So we might find some things that you're not so good at, and then we can break it out and say, hey, because you can't do this, do you notice this in your sport? And you might say, yay or nay. And then we can start connecting that bridge right there.
Awesome.
So these first couple are going to be look at just very global athletic postures. You're going to feel like you're twerking a little bit. It's all good. So the first one's called your athletic posture. So basically, I like to say set up in your athletic posture or your golf posture or whatever that would be. And when you do that, you're going to cross your arms over. Okay. So I just want to see what you bias to. So I want. So what we're looking for is we're looking for a nice neutral spine. In general, some people set up into that extension posture or they set up in this deep flexion posture. We just want to see what your go-to is. So John, we've got a little extension. So you're getting a little extension. And then Chris, you're pretty neutral. Cool. All right, so the first one's the fun one. So you're going to so stand up real quick, watch me real quick, because you're going to laugh. You're going to get into that nice athletic posture. Then I want you to think about you're rocking your belt buckle, but you're not standing tall. So you're going to rock your belt buckle under and then back. So for the camera, under and back. You guys close can see that I'm probably shaking a little bit, so it means I've got some work to do on my own core stability.
Cool.
So athletic posture, let's have you go first. You watch what you got. Cool, so he's got pretty good consistent movement there. It's kind of, you can't do this without laughing. Good, all right, go ahead, Chris. Good. All right, so another thing we're going to talk about is the quality of the movement. Were you able to do that kind of smoothly, or did you feel like there was a shake and bake kind of posture with that? So, for example, I'll put myself out there. I was shaking when I was doing it because I probably sat a lot yesterday.
So was I.
You were shaking? Small shake?
Small shake,
so a lot of shake, a little bit of shake. So we're going to break out the lot of shake. So what we want to find out is he having shakiness because he lacks some stability? So when we're talking about stability, we're not talking about his ability to like lift weights off the ground. It's a neurological stability or stiffness.
Okay.
So you're going to set up in that posture again, and then what we're going to do here is you're going to report back to me if I give you a little bit of stability, maybe hang out right here, and I'm going to give him a little bit of stability, just a couple fingers, that's all, and then you can do your tilt, and then see if it feels any easier. Any change at all?
Not really. Maybe a touch.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
All right, so no, the next test, as you were. This one's the fun, no, a little taller though. All right, now, hands on the hips. Now go ahead again. Sorry. Any change there?
A little better.
Yeah. So, and that was 2 fingers, so it wasn't like I was like helping you, like spotting you. I was giving you a little bit of a neurological cue to make the demands of what you're doing a little easier. Isn't that a little weird?
Yeah. And so what does that tell you?
So that tells me that, again, you're just lacking. You got better because I gave you stability, but that was artificial stability, right? So I need to, in a training floor situation, we would do some like low threshold dead bugs or some core movements that would just basically help you tie in this to your pelvis a little bit. And again, just like this stuff can kind of get offset by traveling, being in the car a lot, things like that. So obviously going more of a performance setup, you want to make sure some of these movements are a little cleaner going into a performance setting, so you're really getting all your horsepower. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So cool. All right, so this one's the funny one. This one you definitely got to turn around and show the camera. So this one you're going to cross your arms over, and then I'm not the greatest at this because I'm not a rotational athlete, but the guys that can do it, it looks pretty cool. So you're going to actually go into rock your hips side to side. So you can pretend your pelvis is a bowl of water, and you're going to rotate this way. It's not a wag, it's not a lateral shake, it's a turn. Okay, so the game is, that's pretty good, you have to do it without moving your knees a ton. Ooh. Good. So he's kind of going side to side. You see that?
Yeah.
Okay, now you got to turn around. So what we're seeing with him, we're seeing more of a lateral movement versus kind of that rotation.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's just letting us know that, he's not a rotational athlete. That's typically, and again, the tools of the trade typically come with that.
I don't think I'm going to move. Oh.
You gotta take a dance class, Chris.
Yeah. Yeah.
So John's criteria would be, I would say, limited bilaterally, more lateral movement. And then I would say Chris is the same. Yeah, and it's just a lot of effort. He's grunting and moving around a lot to get there.
hard.
So the next bit would be, we would then give you a little stability. So you're up first, so set up again. I'm gonna so let's just go ahead and face me, so it doesn't look that weird. And then go ahead so a little bit of stability, and then see if that movement gets a little cleaner.
Yeah.
Weird, huh?
Yeah.
All right, good. Look, he's got more room in there. His hips don't lie. Good. All right. So basically that means, again, that's just that stability thing where we were just saying, if I give you a little bit of artificial help, does the pattern get better? And so say it didn't, right?
Yeah.
That would be more of a situation where we would focus more on mobility, openers, things like that first, and then travel down that stability road, more strengthy movements.
Yep,
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's kind of more of a green light of, okay, to fix that issue, we can focus more on getting you doing some low-level corrective strength first versus me throwing you on a foam roller, getting you looser, things like that.
Yeah,
so strengthen, not stretch.
Yeah, very cool.
Cool. All right. All right. So the next one, you're going to think of yourself kind of being turned into a candy cane for a second. Your feet are going to be together. Hands are going to be on the seam of your pants, nice and tall. You're going to just go down the side one way, and then I just want to see how far that arm can get in relation to that knee on that side. And the goal is you can't, and it's just see how far you can get. And the goal is you can't pitch forward. So John,
Yoga.
So John, it's about the knee height, so on the right arm. So let's go left side for me. About there, right? You're working pretty hard to get there, though?
It's stretching.
Yeah, you're struggling. All right, let's go ahead and go this way. Good. You got there, yep. And this is just showing us just like some lateral trunk mobility.
So
that's really all it is.
Be able to get to?
We like at least knee level.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, anthropometrically, if your arms are longer or not, that plays into a factor.
Exactly.
So if you got a long wingspan, that you tend to be pretty good at that. So you guys are both pretty square with that one. So globally, just so far, we know if we're going to address a strength program, you guys would just have some corrective low-level strength core movements on the front end, just as a prep, and then you can
coordination between them.
Yeah, and that's kind of the idea. And again, some of these are tests, and you're going to be goofy at tests because they're tests, and that's the point of them, not to practice the test.
Okay,
right. So the next one's a hands-down deep squat. Okay, so this is different than we tested earlier, and this test is something else a little bit different. Your feet are going to be together. Test 1 is arms are going to go out in front. Can you break parallel and then come back up? Test 2 is you're going to go down to parallel, make tight fists, touch the ground with your fists, back up, and come back up. Okay, you're first, sir. That looks awesome. Cool. All right, so you're going to get down to that bottom, tight fists, touch the ground, back up, and up. Great. You guys are awesome.
Hands go this way?
Yeah, the hands here is fine. Okay. Feet together, though. Feet together. Good. No problem.
No problem.
Okay, so we'll like a little pause there. Most cyclists have issues doing that.
Oh, really?
Just because of their hip mobility past a certain point and their tight ankles. I would, we can even make a fun have everyone try that, and did they fall on their bum behind them?
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people tend not do this. They fall backwards. Is
and
that a hip issue?
And it could be, but sometimes there is a little bit of genetics in how your hip orientates in the socket. First off, and we would expect you guys would be pretty similar, of course.
Yeah.
But there are obviously a ton of, if you have a ton of ankle restrictions, that doesn't happen so well. If you have a ton of T-spine issues, that doesn't happen as well. So I would reckon most chronic cyclists that don't do any stretching, that would be one that you would see see a lot of issues with.
Okay, nice.
So again, you guys are you guys are a bunch of Gumbies. Okay, so the next one is our ankle test. So this one, this one's a standing one. Okay. So what's going to happen here, and this is a great test it by yourself one. We'll use a little stick just to give you a little bit of stability, like a walking stick. Sorry, John, I keep moving you around. You're going to go one leg in front, one in back, And then you're going to drop your knee as far as you can until your heel pops up. So the goal is we're looking at, can your knee break the crest of that ankle, the front ankle? Okay. So as far as you can. So if I draw a little plumb line right off of it, does it break? Does it come in front of the ankle? Does it go in between or within the ankle or behind? Okay. Good. And then, can I have that clipboard, Chris?
Yep.
Good. So and then he would just, yep. So he's got that plenty. So he's way in front of that ankle. So that's great. So switch that around, and you have to flip around for me now. You have to flip 180 for the camera. Yep. Yeah. So I mean, I don't need to be that strict about that. So he's in front. So he would get a pretty good. That'd be passing. What we got, Chris? Well, you shave, so that should get you more. Good. So he's definitely, he's in front of that ankle bone there.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's probably worse.
Ooh, that's a 2. That's a little. So I drew off that. He hasn't quite
gotten all the way out.
Yeah, and it's just and you're just looking at effort level though. Yeah. So that's something. So again, the initial FMS is more quantitative. Putting scores in kind of buckets. This one's kind of like, well, how did it feel to get to that point? Yep. And again, we're looking at asymmetries. Second leading cause of injury is asymmetries between left and right. So in a sport like cycling, where it is supposed to be very cyclitic and a symmetrical based movement, in theory you want power to be very equal on both pedals. If you have a restriction on your left compared to your right, then there might be a strength based difference expressed in the pedals.
Interesting. And I've had Achilles issues on this
right,
and some great toe issues on that. So that's kind of telling probably a little bit with that.
So do you have something to help differentiate power from right and left on your bike?
I do.
Do you feel like you pedal pretty evenly?
I'm pretty even.
Okay. Yeah.
I think within a couple percent.
Do you have to make that happen though?
I don't think so.
You probably have trained yourself to.
I never watch it, but when I've looked, I'm always pretty balanced.
Okay, that's good then, and that's definitely something with with cyclists that I think it is advantageous if they logistically can afford it, having a power system that can look at left and right power, just so like if they are seeing a metric changing that is actually a direct performance measurement like wattage and things like that, then maybe it's not just their cycling ability, maybe it's something movement wise or strength wise or stability wise why they have a 55-45 discrepancy, things like that, and they're just going to keep going to the left or the right.
Okay, we'll have to look that up to double check.
Yeah. So the next one's real easy, guys. You just already demoed this. First one is can you so feet together. You guys can do this at the same time. Touch toes. And so really, what we're just looking for, you guys are both awesome. Stand on up. Is do we have a nice clean posterior weight shift? So if I took your center of mass and then I see it move directly back, that's what we want. So let's just for humor's sake, let's say you can't do it. Okay. Right. You would then go into, so here, then I'd want you to slack your right knee and then touch. See if you can do it. Slack your left knee and then touch. So people that are watching, test the toe touch. Can they do it? Yes or no. If they can't, then break it out and slack one knee, touch, slack the other knee, touch, and then see if there's a difference. And that's when people start kind of like, oh wow, there's more to this, right? Yep, versus just stretching the crap out of their hamstrings, which we need to start getting everyone away from.
Okay. Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool. All right.
So someone who tests where they have slack in one knee and then they can do it. What happens in that case?
Right. So in that situation, we kind of make a joke in our movement industry that's kind of like the fun black magic, and that means they might need a little bit of a quick stability, pelvic, core stability movement. So like something like a dead bug, something. Couple of the go-tos are maybe some heels on a board, and doing some like PNF style movements with the hamstrings. You can actually get the hamstrings and the core to kind of play nice again, and then you can see a toe touch in relatively quick time. Like if it's the right fix for that person, you could see change in 5 to 7 minutes.
Okay. And why do you want to get away from stretching the crap out of your hamstrings?
Right, and just because most people coming in the door, and I think just globally, modern society, that because we have a prevalence for sitting too much, we have a lot more what we call stability or lack of stability issues. Okay. So it's expressed in tightness. So I say I'm tight, but if I stretch all the time, I'm giving myself a little temporary window of being more flexible, but it doesn't stick, right? So the best example is the person who gets an adjustment, doesn't do anything after that, and then a couple hours later, or weeks later, they're back out of alignment again. So our brain is wired to move in movement patterns. Yep. So if we stretch an isolated piece of tissue, our body is going to then self-regulate and kind of go back to where it was. Yep. Make sense? Yep. So the person that can touch their toes at the end of a yoga class and then they can't the next day, what happened, right? So the brain obviously did some sort of reset pattern to say, oh, you're going to go back to where you were. You haven't taught me to stabilize yet, so why would I let you touch your toes next day? That make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
Perfect. Cool.
All right, so this next one's a single leg balance test. So this one should be super easy, but there's a caveat. You have to do it with your eyes closed.
Oh, this
So
is so hard.
So basically, all you're gonna do is you're gonna stand on the foot that you were gonna test. So say it's my left, you're gonna slack your right foot, and then when you're ready, fixate on something, close your eyes, and then we'll see. Okay?
How long?
So my criteria goes from 0 to 5 seconds in 5-second increments all the way up to 25 seconons.
So we do it
So
at the same time?
let's go. Everyone stand on the right foot, slack your left, find that point, and then close. And timer starts. So what we got here. Good. Perfect.
25?
I'd say it's about 25. You're on your way too. All right, let's do the left side. So find that point.
You should move away from me so you don't hit me when you fall.
Not competitive, I see.
No. Are we ready?
Yep, on you. Yep, close your eyes. All right, that's good. We'll see. We would have seen what we needed to see
Yeah.
by that point. So good. So obviously it's a single leg balance test, and we just know that a ton of the input that we get for balance is from our eyes, is visual based. So obviously there's not too many moments in performance where we need to close your eyes to do anything. So again, the limitations of the test, it's just actually limiting. Does someone have a vestibular issue too? Yeah. So if someone in the theory had something vestibular balance based, we would have seen it in a second. They might have fallen over. So that's why I hang close to people just in case that happens, so I can get them real quick. But I mean, qualitatively, maybe in your situation, you saw there was a difference between left and right.
Yeah.
So, that could have been some ankle stability issues, hip stability. That's going to be we're going to go down that road a little bit. Yep. So that's kind of where we go next. All right. So I would say it's a good pause point to get that set up.
Cool. Let's do it right now.
Yep.
Do it right on
Yep.
camera.
Cool. Yep. All right. So right here. Okay, so this first one is going to be a hip test. So John, you're going to sit on that bench right there. So with this one, John, you're going to essentially, the goal is when you move your foot side to side, we're looking at your hip function of external rotation and internal rotation. Okay. So here's the game though. This is what people tend to do. They tend to lift up their leg and then go over. Okay. So the idea is pretend there's a ceiling right here. You're going to bring your foot into external, come this way. Great. And then to internal, go that way. Pretty good. Okay. So just for the camera, we're looking for around 45 degrees and then 30 degrees roughly, but we're also looking at level of effort too. So if his Tom Cruise veins are coming out and all that stuff, he's having some issues, then we'll know. So let's go to the left leg. So that's pretty good, and that's pretty good. Good. All right, you're boring. Get up.
Here comes the fail point.
So just for the camera, which hip was it?
Left.
Okay. Okay. Are we going?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So left internal is something that we'll talk about a little bit more. So let's go right external. Pretty good. And do that again without moving the foot. People tend to point their foot and do stuff like that. Let's go that way. Good. So natural difference between left internal and right internal.
That's all I get.
Yeah. So, so the next follow-up that we do is that's how far he can move it actively. I want to see passively, can I take him a little bit further? So that again lets me know, do you have a stability issue, or do you have a true mobility issue, or do we have a pain issue? Are we an ouch? So basically, all I would do very simply, I'd say, give me your leg. All
That's
good.
fine.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. And then you might say.
That starts to pinch a little bit right there.
But you know what? So as far as I took you way further than 30 degrees, so we're pretty good for here.
Okay.
So that just lets us know there might be some room in the movement bucket for you, but we know you have a hip issue. But if we can at least improve that range a little bit, that can be something that hopefully just from a function standpoint, if you're going to let it heal on its own, are you going to get it addressed and whatnot. So there's a delineation of what you did, what I did, and then where pain was.
Right.
So we would kind of want to go for that second tier one of where I took you to and have you be able to get there. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool. All right. All right, so the next follow-up one would be, John, you would actually be head in the hole. So we're just looking at another hip variation, a prone hip test. So basically, John, you're going to go this way, and that's going to be, this way. That's going to be external, and then this would be internal. So I'm going to swing around so I can cue this a little bit more. So now we're going to do that again. Now I'm your ceiling. Let's go this way again. Pretty good. Let's take him this way. And good. So just because I'm here, I'll see what he can do passively. And if he's, there's basically zero restrictions here, that lets me know he's pretty clean to go. But say I did feel something, or there was a pinch or an ouch, that's a good time for someone to go, go find their primary care physician or go find their chiro or PT to maybe get some follow-up on their hip.
Okay.
So, how'd that feel, John? Good? Yeah. Cool. Good. All right, my turn. So again, pretty free of movement here, all pretty good here. So he's got some clean set of hips. Good. All right, next one. This one is a little bit harder to kind of self-assess.
Yeah.
I think that seated one would do a better job for viewers. So let's go this way. Okay, that's internal. And that's external. Okay, my turn. So, sorry, Chris, one more time. The left hip is the one, right?
Correct.
Okay. I don't want to have an issue on camera. Yeah, we just popped out his labrum. Or ripped his labrum. Good, so that's pretty clean. That looks good. All right. Good. Okay. Is that a little restricted coming out, Chris?
Yep.
Okay. So we'll take him here. So he's giving me a little bit of restriction here, but we know that already. How's that, Chris?
Not bad.
No issue. Not bad?
No pain.
You're an engineer. You don't give me absolutes.
No pain.
Okay, good. All right, so that's pretty good.
Okay.
So we did see a little bit of difference on how you felt about it when you were seated versus on your stomach.
Yep.
So that's a little separation. When you were more, when you were in a less loaded state, you did have more freedom of movement. So that lets us know that, maybe if we were going to focus on improving that hip function, it would be more of a, we don't need to stretch you as much. We need some more stability work, and
okay.
we would focus on some specific internal rotation work.
Perfect.
Cool. Cool. All right, so the next one is, let's sub this out. Let's get the bench in here.
Okay, I'll put this back.
Yep. All right. Cool, so this next one, guys, we're gonna look at your tibial rotation. So you're gonna sit just at the edge of the bench like this. This is when you gotta really control that knee. You're gonna lift up that toe. You're gonna go as this way and this way with your foot. Okay, so this one's important because we talk about play a lot in the pedals in your shoe and things like that, and float. That's a big term. So obviously, if people are more restricted, they're going to probably want to bias to having more of a restricted movement in their foot versus if they have, So that's just something. Again, I'm sure there's they like certain ways, they get very accustomed to it, but if they've noticed over time their ability to adapt to a new shoe or their pedals is limited, this might be something to check out. So we're looking at internal and external. So let's go this way. So we're looking for about 20 degrees this way and about 30 this way. So that's pretty good. We go left here. That looks good. Good. And so the key point is, if viewers are doing this, they want to keep their knee from moving and make sure the ankle is the major mover doing this. And again, very, it'll be pretty noticeable if they're really struggling to get to somewhere, tightness-wise. So again, you're looking for 20 degrees inward, and then 30, maybe even 40 outward. So if someone's restricted there, maybe they could start with some foam rolling, working on the ankle mobility, and then doing more drills, obviously without shoes, and some ankle mobility drills, which we'll get into in the strike portion. Cool. All right, here's the fun one. We're gonna do our single leg bridge test. So I think for the single leg bridge, so for the purpose of the camera, let's do that on the bench.
On the table?
On the table, excuse me, on the table, sorry. Yep. So this one is going to be a double leg bridge to start. Feet are together, hips are going to go up, and then you're going to go to a single leg and let me know what you feel is working on the down leg. So this is a great self-test one. So they're going to have their feet together, hands to the sky, belt buckle is going to lift just to that kind of nice straight line point from my knee to my shoulder or my ribs. And then they're going to extend to one leg and then kind of qualitatively report what do you feel is like doing the job. So you don't need to know the muscle groups, you can just point.
Okay.
Not everyone needs to know that. So belt buckle sky, great. So you're going to keep that right there. So hold for about 5 count, just to let yourself know what your left leg's doing.
Hamstring and glute.
Hamstring, glute. Okay.
Primarily hamstring.
Okay. What do you got?
Hamstring.
Hamstring, glute. Okay. So that would be something we would talk about a little
Yes.
bit down the road. And this is a great self-tester for your for our cycling base. So feet together, Chris. Feet together.
Oh.
Yeah, and then belt buckle sky. Good. And now hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. What do you got?
Hamstring.
Hamstring. Okay.
Hamstring, glute.
Okay. Cool.
So combo.
Little combo there.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's not uncommon. So, I mean, basically the name of the test is the glute bridge test.
Yeah.
So typically the major movement or major muscle that does that movement is the glutes. So in a perfect situation, we would want your glutes to be the primary mover in that situation. So we know with the cycling population, they tend to have what? Really big.
Quads.
Right, the rhino quads.
Yeah.
I got called that in high school. Wasn't fun. So when people have that, when people have the prevalence to use other muscle groups in that situation, we might be able to make the assumption that when they're doing their lunges or squats or deadlifts, things like that, they might not be using the right parts to do it.
Right.
So this is a good kind of just self-test of, oh, am I using this pre-activity? Good, because we obviously know if your glutes are activated and pelvis is in the right position, then we know when you're cycling, you're going to get the best bang for your buck out of what you got.
Nice.
Right.
Makes sense, right?
Yep, cool.
So then if people that weren't that great at it, they would want to focus on first, doing some mobility work on the hips, like foam rolling, stretching, things like that, and then transition into doing some, mini band work and maybe some things we'll do on camera.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Move this back.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, here's a fun one. All right. Cool. All right, so this one's our inline stability test. So this one's fun. So you're going to take yourself in a line. So obviously if I said take a knee, you'd probably open up a little bit. So the challenge you're going to be in a line, you can face that camera, and then I'm going to give you the stick. And so I'm going to basically come and resist you this way, and then based on that, you're going to have to kind of reflexively resist me.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, John first.
You want to go this way so from the back they can see?
No, the front. No, the front's good. Front's good.
So it's heel in front of knee?
Correct. So they're in line. They're in a line.
Yep.
So that's already tough for a lot of people. Cool. So if you think about our body moves in opposites.
this way.
Yeah, scoot back a little bit. Yep.
Yeah, come right there. You go.
Perfect. So challenge one is get in a line. This, for some people, that might be good enough. We don't even need to add the secondary test. So what I'm going to look at here is, you ready? Feel ready? I'm not going to give you a ton of force, but I just want you to show me, can you maintain this posture here? So this is a high to low pattern.
Yep.
So this is going to let me know, is he that strong or not? So there's a good implication of this. So that's the chop. So I would say he failed that.
Yeah.
So this one he's going to come up, and that's his. So he's a little stronger there. He's giving me some feedback there. So just do it again. All right. Yep. So if you figured it out, no way. He's just muscling it right now. So good. Let's switch it up. So that's our inline stability test. So the left hand high now.
That line is tough.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay. All right. He was pushing into me. He was ready.
I was ready.
All right. Here we go. Nice, easy movement. Good. And I'm maybe putting 3 to 5 pounds of force, not a ton. Okay. Now we're coming up. You ready?
Yep.
Here we go. See, I'm just lifting. I'm just 2 fingers.
Yeah.
So good. So there was 2 of those. So mark down. One was tough down.
Yeah.
One was tough coming up.
So, yep.
You got it? Just remember that for me.
Left down.
Ready? That was tough.
That's tough. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you'll be able to know if you're anchoring or not, and I want to give you the answers of why in a second. Okay. So we're gonna go this way. So that's some better feedback there,
Yeah.
right? You felt like you have a lot more strength there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So just again, we'll show you this one. Yeah. So then you figured it out. There you go. Other side. Yep. Correct. Good. So that's pretty good. He's pretty strong right there. All right. Coming up. Let's see what we got here. That's pretty good. Okay, so that one pattern was the one we would talk about more. That
And then I found it here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one is it's kind of a global test, but it's looking at some lateral hip stability, your core's ability to fire in a cross pattern. So we know movement is organized in opposites or in slings, right? So anatomy trans, there's some really cool stuff about that. You should be training the core in sling pattern.
Yeah.
Just like all major movements are expressed in throws or in punches or things like that.
Yep.
So that's just a kind of a quick and dirty test. Can you resist that? So the ones that you weren't great at, so you remember what you were great at and you remember what you weren't great at, right? Those would be from a chops and lifts pattern from a resistance standpoint, using some cables or some kettlebells or some bands. We would work on focusing strength in those patterns, and then that would address some inline or some hip stability issues.
Okay.
So that's kind of the fun takeaway for that one. All right, the next ones are kind of quick and dirty. They're neck tests, so you can stand just right there, side to side.
Yep.
Feet together for me. We're gonna everyone look to their left, without moving nothing else. Oh, that's awesome. To your right. Good, no problems there?
Nope.
Cool. All right, so next ones are gonna be some wrist tests. So the nice takeaway with this one is cyclists probably spend a lot of money on their fits when they have a lot of wrist and elbow and shoulder issues. So again, for those people out there, they can start testing the wrists a little bit and maybe figure out maybe it's not a fit issue, it's a person issue.
Yeah, let's go this way so we can
Yep.
see.
So so you guys can do that real quick. Yeah, get a little closer. So the first one is actually it's going to be hands out and just can you supinate and pronate nice and evenly? Do you feel any restrictions doing that?
No.
Yeah, pretty good. Maybe if you had in theory, maybe you had a job that made you repeated movements, this would be a little bit more restricted.
Okay.
Especially something that kind of had a lot of torque to it in the wrist.
Yeah.
So no issues for you there. So the next one's going to be the hinge test. Hands are here. You're going to go down as far as you can and up as far as you can. Anyone feel any restrictions or pinches?
Nope.
Good. But we definitely you guys have felt some numbness in the forearms riding or anything like that?
Oh, I get a numb hand all the way through here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if we find something maybe on the movement side that we could address that, and then obviously that might be still up to you to figure out what's the fit, issue there.
Yep.
So next one here, palms are here, and then you're going to go accelerator, flexion, and then extension. Any issues there at all?
Nope.
Okay, so obviously we tend to see a lot of extension issues with people in the gym environment with push-ups and crawls, things like that.
Yep.
For a cyclist, I
And
definitely
you're looking
think
for pain.
we're looking for pain, and we're looking for just easiness and movement. There is a degrees of motion in my head I'm looking for,
Yep.
but you guys had that, no problem.
Yep.
So that's kind of the main takeaway. So yeah, that's kind of the summation of it. So I guess the main takeaway, what we would focus on for you guys is probably, you guys came in the door moving pretty well, let's be honest. So mostly some core pelvic stability issues that we would kind of address on the front end of the program. So we would do maybe some things like some fun crawl patterns. We would do some things like some dead bugs, some movements like that we can demo on camera. And then both of you definitely would work on maybe some standing single leg glute work to kind of get your glutes ramped up before you would do maybe some activity like a lift or something like that.
Sure.
So a lot of people tend to benefit from the results of these screens by doing some things preceding activity.
Yep.
So they neurologically ramp stuff up before riding or before a lift.
Okay.
Cool?
Perfect.
All right.
Perfect. All right, let's get into the strength work.
Okay, cool.